Saudi Arabia has now inquired about investing in the ATP, which means now that we might have another comical situation like we had with the Live Golf and PGA Tour. So pretty much what's happened is that Saudi Arabia has pretty much gone and met with the ATP, negotiations behind the scenes, so on, so on. And they've said to them that, I mean, you guys, you could do some more funding. We could enhance things for you. You could, we can give you funding to drive your media, your data, and technology advancements, and really change things up, like we've done in Live and the PGA, like we've done now in Saudi Arabia with our 4 teams. We're attracting all this talent from Europe, like we've done with all the boxing and so on and so on. And there was a tennis tournament last year in Diriyah. So why not? And the ATP has pretty much said, yes, absolutely, let's talk. And and there has been some interesting background. I mean, I'll give a couple of quotes from a couple of stars. John McEnroe, which is obviously a legend, has gone and commented. He pretty much said, after the current debacle in golf, this idea is a comical idea. Why would you go near them? So he's pretty much fired a warning. But then you have Nick Kyrgios, who's gone out and tweeted. Of course, he's a current player. Finally, they see the value. We are going to get paid what we deserve to get paid. Sign me up. So past players, they're shooting the alarm bells. Current players are saying, wow, this is time for us to get paid. What's going on, Rob?
Well, it's the classic old school get off my lawn guy and new school I'm ready to get paid guy. Two different perspectives, but first and foremost, you're right. The private investment fund is, might as well be a co-host of this podcast, because we've pretty much discussed them virtually every week, because they've been active. I mean, and again, at the end of the day, they want to be part of sport and on the global level, and where there's an opportunity for them to fund or sponsor sports properties, they are active. They're not being a passive player. They're being very aggressive. And look, no one can blame the ATP, seeing the PGA acquiesce and partner with the organization. It's one of the pro leagues that actually the athletes are independent contractors. They work. They're members of the association. They pay their expenses. They don't work for a team. They don't get a salary. They basically eat what they kill. When they go to a tournament and they advance, they get certain prize money, and that's what they win. So seeing the PIF and Saudi investment into tennis, and it's just a matter of time before we see it. Not just in the ATP, but WTA as well, most likely. Both of those organizations could use some cash influx. Question is, are we going to see the the commentary, women, past champions, etc. May also be very vocal. Now, the question is, will the Saudis get involved in that? We don't know, but they have made that step with the men, and here we go. What does that mean? Does that mean they didn't launch a rival league like they did with Live in comparison to PGA Tour? This is more of the direct approach. Hey, can we buy in? Let's not go through the hassle of starting another tour, because we can, and we could, and maybe we will. And Nick Kyrgios might be the first guy to jump. He'll be like, "Pay me. I'm there. I'll be your flagship guy." Do you see a former champion, does a I'm not saying that he would, but does a Federer come out of retirement for a stupid number to help launch a rival tennis league? Certainly could. Might be worth it. I mean, they were going to pay Tiger 800 million, and he can't walk 18 holes. So at the end of the day, it's probably a very good financial thing for the game of tennis. Um, and as we said with golf, you will probably see a fifth major of some sort get created and be held in Riyadh or somewhere maybe in one of the Emirates or something, to where um, it dwarfs the financial winnings of the U.S. Open, Wimbledon, French Open, and the Australian Open collectively. You could win 20 million bucks by winning the Saudi Masters kind of thing. Who knows? But um, money talks in this business. They have been very aggressive. It's a natural. It's a natural sport for them to get engaged and involved with because you're not dealing with owners. You're dealing with a governing body or a league. Players are independent contractors, so therefore more money in prize money is they're all for that, and it's a fairly for them a fairly easy conversation to have. Here's another 100 million, 200 million, 300 million into your organization to increase infrastructure, prize money, um, upgrade certain venues. Perhaps maybe they kick into some player travel and some of the international things. Growing the sport internationally. Uh, all very positive results. It's not a I don't view it as a negative, but obviously John McEnroe is just one of many. I'd love to hear what some others have to say and kind of get their reason why, because it's not, again, they didn't start a rival tour. They didn't attack it in a way that they did golf. I can understand the sensitivities with a lot of the legends in golf, because they basically they raided the cupboard a little bit. Hey,
Yeah,
Dustin,
yeah,
Phil, Bubba, whatever, we're just paying you guys to leave to legitimize our, and this is one where they're actually coming, really, knocking on the front door with a, with a bag and going, hey, how can we help? Do you need help?
yeah,
Could you use additional funding? The answer is yes. The answer is always yes. What's the catch? That's the question. I think we'll learn more about that, down the road. Um, and the question will be, do you see them jump into the women's game, where I think obviously culturally would be interesting for them as well. But certainly the
they've tried.
ATP, huh?
They've tried to, and they got knocked back because
Yeah.
the
So
WTA was raising a fund recently, and they chose the Saudis, threw money at them, but they went with I think a company called CVC Holdings or of the sort. They raised $300 million. So they've tried with the women. It's a bit more complicated. As you said, they tried to sponsor the FIFA World Cup, the Women's World Cup, and there was huge backlash from the different the civil rights groups, and they've had to sort of re-engineer their campaign for that World Cup and only sponsor certain aspects of it and not not the actual main World Cup. So we're seeing a bit of sensitivities around women's sports and the Saudis, and women's sports, like, don't get me wrong, they're doing great, but they need the money more than the men at this stage if they're going to develop and grow and try and grow their game. So I'm not sure why people are knocking this back. Um, no country on earth has got a clean past. Everyone's got, a dent somewhere. So it's just about sort of accepting and moving on and understanding they're coming to you to work with you, work with them. Maybe you can have a positive change on them. So anyway, sorry to cut you off, but they have tried that.
Yeah, no, and again, I mean, I figured there's probably been attempts and there's reasons why they've been rebuffed at some point, and but I think it all circles back to in the case here with what we're seeing in the ATP is that once again, um, money can resolve. It not resolves, but I mean, it obviously helps. Enhance the league, enhance the organization. Increase in prize money, and when you're dealing with independent contractors as your primary talent, that speaks volumes, and it did in golf, and and I think it will in men's tennis. I think you'll see. Um, I think you'll see a high rate of acceptance, from current players, and probably more recent. If there's a recent player, I mean, look, John McEnroe and Jimmy Connors, and those players played in a totally different era, and you know, um, I'm surprised that McEnroe would be so anti, because if I'm the the Saudi fund, he's kind of one of the guys I'd want to be one of my ambassadors, of the game. So, you know, so at some level, maybe he cost himself his own payday by popping off a little early. But I don't know. We'll see. I would imagine that Pete Sampras and Jim Courier and a few other guys might be very interested.
Jim Courier is one. Yeah.
Jim.
Jim's a bit of a face because he comes down to the Australian Open and he sort of gets around. But what is it with these Aussies jumping at the money straight away, at the Saudi money? You had Greg Norman first, and now Kyrgios, and who's next? Maybe Leighton Hewitt.
Danny Ricardo's out there too, looking for a ride. Maybe they'll fund him.
Thank you all for tuning in. We'll catch you all next week. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.